y eso genera el Evolution 3.
Una de las grandes características que tiene es proveer la posibilidad de hacer aplicaciones ocasionalmente conectadas.
Sea iOS o sea Android, los usuarios esperan que las aplicaciones tengan un alto nivel de terminación.
Para realizar esta versión lo que hemos hecho es tomar cientos de aplicaciones que nuestros usuarios nos exigían, digamos, que los clientes necesitaban.
Buenas tardes.
Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us after lunch. This is a new edition on GeneXus in the short and medium terms. I will relate what we are doing currently at GeneXus and what we will do in the near future. This event is very much related to cooking and recipes, and I found this, which really reflects what cooking is. It says cooking has to be dynamic and must reflect the trends of the times. And I thought this is consistent with what GeneXus is doing in terms of technology. There are many similarities in terms of recipes, but I also found similarities. This is one of the many sentences we have referring to cooking. With GeneXus, we need to be dynamic. We need to follow the technological trends of the times. This is our challenge, and this is what GeneXus has been doing over the years. Nicolas and Breogán have told us that technology is constantly evolving, and we need to follow that pace. With my presentation, I would like to talk about the trends in businesses today and what GeneXus has today and what it will have in the near future. That is the purpose of my presentation. And we could say that the trend in technology is to create native mobile apps. Some people say mobile first, to refer to this, to think of companies and mobile apps. And this is happening currently. This is what companies are doing. But we need to consider this more a strategy than a trend. I think the trend is something broader in scope. If we, for example, look at what happened with several industries around the world, many things have changed for them. The way we listened to music some time ago, not that long ago, has completely changed with things like music streaming, but not only streaming, but the way in which we select the music we listen to. And also Spotify and other players and other companies are providing us with new things. The way we watch television has changed or is changing. Today, without Netflix, my home is something very serious is happening. The kids do not know what to do if it's not Netflix. When I was a kid, I had to wait until 5 p.m. to see cartoons. But now it's any place, any time they can watch cartoons. Netflix was a revolution to television industry, and Amazon revolutionized the way we buy over the internet, the way we buy things, read books, and so on. You may say, well, I'm not going to change. My dream is not to change the way in which I listen to music, but many of us dream of changing things in the industries we work for and in the business applications. So we have to be very, very careful and pay attention. The way we call a taxi, this has changed. It's closer to the end user, but there are businesses connected to taxi, just stopping the taxi or using the telephone or calling the taxi with the help of apps. These are things that changed over time in an incremental way and changed the way in which people use technology and in the way people do things. I came by taxi and I used an application to call the taxi. Somebody thought about the business in a different way and said, let us use geolocation technology. Taxis may have GPS, people have cell phones and tablets, they can call for a taxi, and it's much better than using a telephone. I know who's coming to pick me up, and so on. So that industry changed. Fortunately, during this event, I've seen that this is the trend, but many people today, I was present at the La Robla presentation, they are thinking about banking. new ways of banking internally, and banks and users. So we need to use new technologies. And I think that the trend is rethinking business around technology. Every single thing we do today in the industries we work for needs to be rethought. Every time that I see paper, I see an opportunity. This is something that most of the times can change. If I see a person moving from one place to another to enter data on a PC, it happens to me when you are in hospital and they write things on a block and then they enter the information into the computer. You see opportunities here and there. Maybe many of you are already implementing those things. We have to rethink the business on the basis of the current technology. So what are the things that require rethinking of these businesses? There is, of course, a technological context, and we need to sit down. This is high time we sat down and say, I keep this, I'll get rid of that. Think about the technological context. Think about very well-known things. For example, we have them with us for years. Our applications to be universal need to be cross-browser. When I was presenting this to Ana Berta, she helped me a lot in making this presentation. She said, this looks like an old PPT, but it is old, but still timely, because we have to take this as one of the important things, how we got to be universal in our applications. The web applications are still timely. At a time, they were sufficient. Today, they are not sufficient, and that's the bad news in terms of programmers. But for us, as we will see later on, that's not bad news. But the bad news is that it's not just cross-browser. It should be cross-device, and the web applications should be designed to be cross-device. That grants universality. But the experiences of the different users with the devices becomes better and better, and the users want to have better experiences. That's why we need to follow a trend and create native apps for multiple devices. This is today the desk of a programmer. It has many devices. And what's happening today? The cross-browser, the cross-devices is a step, and the next step is that I have to think about, like what Gonzalo Galotti does for Uruguayan soccer. You have to think, well, what happens when I have my application and I'm at a sitting room in a house? How will I interact with a TV set? I will have to have a connection with an Android TV or an Apple something. So how will that application work in the living room of a house or in a different context? Or should my application operate inside a car? Does it make sense? Does it make sense to use a watch that is working with this technology, or the glasses? I have an echo. Things that do make sense in different environments when we interact with sensors in a house. So it's no more what is awaiting for us in the future. These things are already happening. So I have to think about cross-device, cross-browser for web and native applications, and I have to think cross-context. Does it make sense that my application have a component? What component? This takes us to IoT, Internet of Things, many more things connected to Internet, capturing data that used to be entered manually. So when you see someone entering data, you should say, what is that person entering? Is it data that could be captured by a sensor? Maybe this is an opportunity. Is this a position of something? Why don't we use the bitcoins? Why not calculate how each of us moves in this room by having 4 beacons in different corners? So we should try to have this Internet of Things or meteorological stations generating data, generating such large amounts of data with three basic characteristics. The big data. There's a high speed in the generation of data, and that for us is not a source of concern, because this means that we have a large volume of things and we will have data stores. But as communities, we are concerned about the variety of data sources that will be available. And this is one of the things we have to work on. So this, if you like, is the technological context. And now each of these subjects could be developed and elaborated on. But let me tell you what GeneXus has to deal with this technological context. With GeneXus, we are working in different areas: agriculture, soccer, e-banking, different environments. And GeneXus at some point will try to integrate different technologies. It will interact with big data, with sensors. Now, how are we getting ready for that cross-context world where we have watches, where we have glasses, and many, many more things like sneakers and so on, intelligent or smart clothes, etc. Armin and Pablo made a very good presentation on Evolution 3. Today we are working on it, and it will be released this month. And those are basically the pillars of this version. We did responsive web design so that we could give web applications that are cross-browser and cross-device, also applications in smart devices. We could do them by having them interact with different devices. We have them for API for different sensors, image capture, and so on. We also have two more pillars. One, modules. Even though in Evolution 3 we did a first step, which was the seed to attack the bigger problem, because our users have spent more than 20 years doing knowledge bases, and the knowledge bases are broad. So it's a problem sometimes today to deal with these bases. So we want to keep on working on modules, and we did the first thing in Evolution 3, and we'll keep on working so that these large knowledge bases can be tackled. Fortunately, we have this problem, which means that we will be able to work with this old but very timely basis. Extensibility is another issue. During the event, we've seen that GeneXus platform is not just built by our tech, it is being built with our partners, many partners that do wonderful things. I cannot name each and every one of these companies where we have very good friends, and I congratulate all these companies and the people belonging to these companies, because they are making things happen. With Evolution 3, things happen. And things that happen are due to the work of our partners working with the GeneXus technology, who believe in the way we program, and they believe that manual programming is not enough. Also, I would like to express my appreciation not just to companies but to people. I cannot give names because I cannot name you all, but the people who are entrepreneurial within the GeneXus community. They do things for the community, they do user groups, and that is fundamental for the community and for the creation of the platform. That's Evolution 3. Evolution 3 is not just the product that our GeneXus are launching. It's a platform that's being created with all those people I've mentioned. Let me thank the whole community that is actively participating in this endeavor. We hope to have more people in future. So with Evolution 3, we are cross-browser, cross-devices, and cross-context. In terms of cross-context, some partners have done things with glasses, watches. We have tried and many components generated by GeneXus account for 80% of our cross-context applications. Sometimes we still have manual finishing ups, but we think that with Evolution 3 this was a great step forward. The reality is very dynamic also, and as we launch or release Evolution 3, things will happen. So we are already working on things that I want to share with you. These are things that result from industry, others not so much. But in this second upgrade, we'll have full support for iOS 8. And you can compile some applications with the upgrade 1. With upgrade 1, we will have functionalities so that you take advantage of the size and definitions of iOS 8. This will be ready very soon, and the most urgent things will be released soon. So you will be able to take full advantage of iOS 8, and Fabian tomorrow will show you more details in this regard. Another very innovative thing is that we had a Windows generator, but now Windows Phone became more relevant, and we did not marry with the decisions we took. We became a Windows Phone generator, and Windows Phone 8.1 will be explained by Seba Gomez. This is beta, but this is the first event where we were able to share with you. If you have Windows Phone, you can have this application on Windows Phone. And many people have asked for this, and we think it's good news for the community. We will have these generators soon. Another important thing on the other side of our experience and devices, this has to do more with integration, with not arriving to a green field or to have different data sources and RPs to interact with. We've got a certification so that GeneXus can interact natively with SAP. And this is GeneXus Explorer and Connector. This is a very important point for us to have this certification with SAP. We are working with other areas very close to SAP technology, and we will continue in the next version. So I don't want to take too much of your time to explain what is happening today. The most important thing during this event is Evolution 3. Evolution 3 is the most outstanding thing with which we can do so many things. So in the medium term, we will finish one version. It will evolve with other things requested by the market. But in the medium term, we are going to produce another version, a kickoff. And we are following the methodology that Gabriel Simonet mentioned yesterday. We are not going to shoot too many bullets. We'll try to accumulate experience. And I invite you to stop me outside, to give me your feedback, or to stop any member of our TED to share your feedback. Please tell us what are the things you need are necessary in the industry. Like in Enrique's presentation this morning when he talked about deployment. But we need to take steps ahead. We need to move forward regardless of what GeneXus is telling us. We are open to your comments, but let me tell you what started well before defining SALT. Some of the things we are planning to do. When we start with a version, we have to on the balance plates, we have two things: what the market requires and what GeneXus can do as a development. According to the market, the applications and all the things I've been talking about, one thing we want to do is internal, but the cycles when we release generators should be shorter. and not so much connected to GeneXus. If we need a generator for a specific platform, we shouldn't be waiting to release it before or after we have another version of GeneXus. We try to separate these two things. It still requires hard work, but this is what we are going to do in terms of processes to release generators without having to wait until the next version, Salto, is released. So the Swift generator is one of the generators we'll be working on. Apple released a new programming language for programmers. This is going to be the new language for Apple people. And we don't have to decide much. We have to go and do it. And that is going to substitute the other generator. For the GeneXus user, it's not a big change from the point of view of features. You can have the same. It's only for manual programming. There's not much for us to explain. We need to do it because it's a language of one of the big players, and they say we need to use it. So we also want to generate things that respond to the times we live. And this is not urgent, but it's going to be a requirement in the short term, in the medium term, I mean. The other is the context, the cross-context. One thing is clear, whether we like it or not, we'll have the watches and the glasses. And the watches, smart watches will come first. There are many Androids. Apple will release one early in 2015, and the applications will have to interact with them. Some scenarios will be comfortable, others will not be. So we have to think whether our business is going to use this or not. We will be generating wearables. The other issue is the cloud. One of the things we want is to be able to deploy to IaaS platforms or services platforms, structures as services or platforms as services. We have global players, local players. We have different costs, latency. But this is the reality. We are side by side with many of these players. From a technical point of view, and I think Gonzalo Galotti will refer to this right after me, what other things GeneXus wants to do so that complicated architectures that are can be done manually, and to use an Amazon storage for blobs or CDNs. Well, this is what he will explain much better than me. I don't have the time to do so. But he will tell us how we want GeneXus, by default, provide complex architectures, because we never know when you need to make an application, when this may explode. Maybe some of these things can be done with GeneXus in a more artisanal way, in our opinion. And the other leg of the stool for the midterm is that how to obtain the applications. This is governed by the need of applications, but in the development with GeneXus, we really do things that nobody else does. We believe that ours are better. We believe this is the way to develop, and this is where we do things in a different way. We believe in development based on models, knowledge, and we continue. We are still convinced that this is the best way to develop software. Now, one of the problems that we have is the big data. The large amounts of data stored in different sources and social networks, networking, SAP, RPs of different type. This is going to happen whether we like it or not. All technologies leave a footprint, and we need to face them. So today with GeneXus, we can deal with all these things. We can say, I will have an external object, I will do this, I will do that. In some cases, it's very easy to do, very, very easy. But for other things, you may have a connector for SAP, and we can tread this new avenue, but we need to go back to some basis of GeneXus and do some language evolution to use the best characteristics of GeneXus, to really harness those best characteristics that were so typical of GeneXus from the very beginning. And we believe that this has much value. Tomorrow, I will speak about this more in depth, and I will tell you what we think about language evolution tomorrow. Another topic, one of the principles that Nicolas or Brogan mentioned is incremental development. We do believe that there is something called incremental development. I work a lot with GeneXus. I do lots of things with GeneXus. And when I do a demo, I feel very proud, if you like, about the way we do incremental development in modeling data. Now, when it comes to the point of design, well, really, I waste a lot of time. And I have the know-how. I know how to do things, but I waste a lot of time. I waste a lot of time, and I felt that we had to improve that. I felt, thinking about Henry Ford, that I was looking for the fastest horse. This has to compile faster, this has to be done faster, it has to go faster. We know. But how to do it faster? Or how to have an easy editor? I was not convinced, because in the end, it's not only complex to run after the interface, but data are important. Data we show become something fundamental. So one day, Federico Assato came to see me, and he raised an idea where he invented a car, in a way. I'm not going to say what it was. Come to his presentation. But Federico and Willy will talk about this. Willy and Andres, many team members, started reinventing the car. This is a technology that we will show you, so that this problem of moving from design to application is reduced drastically. Nobody else in the world has this technology, because we are convinced that development should be incremental. Maybe nobody else is doing this because they don't care about it. So those are the big things we are cooking, the big dishes, the main dishes we are cooking. And I mentioned large knowledge bases before. And going back to the beginning, the only thing I want to emphasize in this presentation is that each of our businesses presents many opportunities to us, and we have to rethink our businesses and go beyond the opportunities. And we will be able to transform our businesses from an RP to a very simple application. Well, it's very easy to transform, as calling for a taxi was transformed. The recipe for that, here we have Mr. Ping. He's Kung Fu Panda's father. Just in case you don't know, he's a goose. He is a goose. I'm lucky enough to watch this film because my son is 3 years old. Kung Fu Panda 1 is quite old, but I'm watching it frequently with my son. I like this film. I learn a lot from the characters. And one of the things that Kung Fu's father did was he had a magical recipe to sell noodle soup. It's a noodle soup, and it was very successful. And some people wanted to learn the formula for this success. At some point, well, I'm telling you the story. At some point, Paul's father says, well, in fact, I will tell you the secret. The secret is that there's no magical ingredient, no magical ingredient for the success. In fact, when you think that something is special, it ends up being special. I think one of the ingredients to make the soup is GeneXus. The magic is what you put in when you use the version. Thank you.